The warnings Jesus gave weren't random, they were strategic. Each one points to a specific kind of danger that emerges when society is under extreme stress. And when you map those dangers onto our modern world, the way cities work, the way technology controls access to resources, the way fear drives people underground, it becomes clear that we're living in the exact conditions he was warning about. So why does place matter so much? Because place determines access, it determines mobility, it determines whether you're trapped or free. In ancient times, if you were inside a city when the siege began, you were stuck. If you were in the wrong region when the armies came through, you didn't stand a chance. Geography wasn't just a backdrop, it was destiny. Today, geography still matters, but it's layered with something even more controlling: systems. Where you are determines which systems you're plugged into, which grid powers your home, which supply chain feeds your family, which network tracks your identity, and if those systems fail, or worse, if they're weaponized, then being in the wrong place means being at the mercy of forces you can't control. That's why Jesus pointed to specific locations, not to scare people, but to prepare them, to give them the clarity they needed to make the right choice when the moment arrived. And that moment, according to every pattern we can see, is closer than most people think. So before we look at the 4 places, we need to zoom in on one location that acts as the epicenter for everything. The place where the fuse gets lit. The place where spiritual history and geopolitical reality collide with such force that it sends shockwaves across the entire planet. That place is Judea, specifically Jerusalem. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't live in the Middle East. Why does Jerusalem matter to me? And that's a fair question. But here's the answer. Jerusalem isn't just a city. It's a symbol. It's a flashpoint. It's the one place on earth that every major power, every major religion, and every major ideology has a claim on. And because of that, what happens there doesn't stay there. It ripples outward. For thousands of years, Jerusalem has been at the center of conflict. It's been destroyed, rebuilt, conquered, and reclaimed more times than almost any city in history. And according to biblical prophecy, it will be at the center of the final conflict as well. Not because God has a favorite piece of real estate, but because Jerusalem represents something bigger, the collision between God's plan and human rebellion. Think of it like this. If the world were a stage, Jerusalem would be center stage. Everything that happens there is amplified. Every decision made there reverberates. And when the moment comes that the Bible calls the abomination of desolation, the event that Jesus specifically told people to watch, for it will happen there, in Jerusalem, in the holy place. What is the abomination of desolation? In simple terms, it's the moment when something sacred is desecrated in the worst possible way. When a figure of ultimate arrogance and power sets himself up in the temple and declares himself to be God, it's the ultimate act of blasphemy.